Professor of Religious Studies, Diana Walsh Pasulka, who we've covered many times on the channel, she actually made some comments on the Danny Jones podcast about 8 months ago that I somehow overlooked. And to be honest with you, it's absolutely shocking if true. Let's dive in. If you're new to the channel, y'all, you like content like this, please hit that subscribe button. Put a new video every day, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. I do not miss a day. And of course, please hit that like button, y'all. That really helps out the video. So thank y'all so much for the support there, vetters. And yes, your comments down below. I cannot wait to see what y'all write about this because I was taken aback, honestly, by these comments. So basically, I was doing research for this video about something else entirely about Diana Pasulka. I'm about to show you what news about her just came out. And in the midst of that, of trying to find a clip to sort of add some context to the video, I stumbled upon this part in the Danny Jones podcast. I guess I don't know, overlooked. I'm not sure because I've listened to the whole thing. And I'm shocked by it if it's true. I had personally never heard this before. So let's dive in. First thing is the news that I was, going to make a video on, right? So she tweeted out, a producer from the Game of Thrones has optioned American Cosmic and Encounters to develop a TV series. More to come. So those are her two books that, she's gone on countless podcasts and countless interviews about. It's where all the stories come from. And look at this. One of the producers of Game of Thrones is going to option it to develop a TV series. My guess is they're going to combine the two, maybe make it just about the lore in general. I don't know what to expect from that. That's why I was going to make a whole video about this because I was just curious, right? What's this TV series going to be about? And how do they handle it? Because how they handle it, bringing it into the public sphere, depending on how they handle it, it could, give the UFO community a bad name. But it could also, open people's eyes and maybe start thinking a little more outside the box, right? So anyway, curious to, hear everyone's comments below about this as well. What do you think of that particular, nugget? But again, as I was doing research for this video, I came across this clip. Now, why don't I just play it and then we'll discuss. And I've got one more tweet to discuss as well at the end. So stay tuned.
That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it. So again, after American Cosmic was published, lots of very wealthy people who do want to operationalize technology got a hold of me. Still happens, okay? And they'd like to talk to me and maybe connect them with Tyler or people like that, right? But I always feel like they're looking for this, this idea of the reverse engineering the data. And what I found is that the data actually exists in the people. So, the data is passed down through an oral tradition. It's not kept in, a bunch of computers. You can't access the data, then put an AI on it and work with it that way. It's actually a transmission from person to person. And also it's got this spiritual kind of mystical guise to it that a lot of them aren't adequately prepared to understand or even see. So I always felt like I was going to give them a disappointing answer. Can you do this for me? Kind of thing. And I'm thinking, even if I did do it for you, you will not be able to access this because you don't understand what it is and how it gets passed down. So a lot of the UFO communities, the people, who work in them, are passing it down in orally transmitted tradition.
So it's something that...
So hang on, there's more here, but let's break this down, right? What? I mean, what? I just, honestly, I was shocked to hear this. There's no UFO data. There's no UFO files. What does David Grush have as evidence? What is that then? I don't understand what's going on, right? They're passing down the UFO data. There's nothing to analyze. There's nothing on a computer. That's not good. That's literally what Sean Kirkpatrick has been saying, that they've, these small group of people have been playing this game of telephone for decades, right? That's literally what she's saying, essentially. And that's alarming, to be honest with you. Now, again, I don't know if that's true what she's saying. She says a lot of stuff in this podcast, right? So I'm sure that's what she was told. Now, maybe she was just told that because she probably asked for evidence. Let me see something, show me something. And they were like, well, there's nothing. We just pass it down orally. That came out wrong. You know what I mean? Oh, God. Woo. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? She probably asked for something. That's what they told her. Hey, listen, we don't have any data. We just tell each other, pass it down to our children. Very like Native American, very old school, right? Traditional campfire stories that get passed down, lore, folklore, legends, myths. That's how it was. And, that's the origin of a lot of communication for human beings. I interviewed this famous poet one time on my last podcast, and we talked about the origin of poetry. And she told me that poetry was like the first thing that human beings did around a campfire to remember stories. They told each other stories through poetry to help remember and pass that along, right? They sort of catalog these stories. And of course, through each telling, they changed a little bit. Now, you mean to tell me that hasn't happened with this? You don't think that's a huge error to be passing down the information like that? If that's true, that sounds like, is there just one moment where they're sat down and told all the information and then they're just supposed to retain it? Does that make sense what I'm saying? Or how many stories, like all the information at one time over the course of time? How do you know you've told everything? There's so many holes in this idea. If this is what's happening, there's so many holes in that. I could understand certain things being passed down orally, but that's not what she's saying. Right? She's saying all the UFO data. You're not worried about the craft or the bodies, and you're worried about some Excel spreadsheets. You know what I mean? Like, what about all these documents that are out? And proof, right? And evidence that supposedly is out there. What happened to all that? I don't understand, right? I would love to hear what other people say about this in the UFO community. Speakers in the UFO community, ufologists and UFO researchers, right? The investigators. What do they say about this? The Jeremy Corbells of the world, the Lou Elizondos, the Gary Nolans. What do they have to say about this, of the information being passed down this way? Again, just start thinking to yourself, well, how I get the idea that, okay, it's to protect for secrecy. Okay, but there is no way you can confirm that all that information is going to be. First of all, you can't confirm that all the information would get passed down. Second, you can't confirm that all the information that you're passing down is accurate. And you didn't, change it up, or you misremembered red and blue, does that make sense? Little details that then just change the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? It was like, jeez, I just don't like this at all, if that's true. Again, I'm open to hear explanations because I can't think of any. I can't think how you could 100% guarantee that all the information would get passed and that all the information would be accurate. Again, if true, this is the greatest discovery in the history of mankind. So only part of the information getting passed down accurately, that's not good enough to maintain a secret. You know what I mean? Like that sounds, just sounds dumb. I can't think of a better word. I was trying to. It just sounds dumb to do that. Pass that down. You know what I mean? Again, is it just one moment where they sit down and they get this like 12-hour PowerPoint presentation? I guess it couldn't be a PowerPoint. Just two dudes talking, let me tell you the story. And just go. And then again, the guy's just supposed to remember he can't take notes. So everyone's got to have just like the perfect memory. Again, just so many details are going to get lost like that. And how many details would you have to remember? Let's be real. What are we talking about here? This makes zero. When I say zero, I mean 0 sense to me. Right? Again, this is exactly what they're saying is happening, this game of telephone, which there could be that, but I always thought there's documents and files and videos and photos, right? That's what they've said. Or is there that on top of the other information getting passed down, right? Like, so I get what she's saying. You can't be compromised if it's all passed down orally. Yeah, but to what extent is passed down orally? Again, it's impossible for you to confirm that all the information was passed down accurately. What if some people decide to keep some stuff for themselves or add on to it a little bit? Or again, just misremembered because they do this for decades, I just don't understand. And not one of those people has come out. What about like what Bob Lazar was working on? I don't know, man. I just this idea that it's all verbal, oral tradition passed down. Now listen, they're going to talk about something else, about the food industry, which they're going to make a claim about it, which I come from the food industry. I worked a long time in the food industry. Did every job you could imagine, from waiter, bartender, cook, chef, manager, bar manager, general manager, everything, catering. I had my own food truck in Austin for 5 years. I worked for several restaurants, some of the best restaurants in Texas for years. I worked in Spain in restaurants. I worked in Mexico in restaurants. I know the restaurant industry, and what they talk about, the food industry in particular, is very true. But the point that they make about it is not the point I think they were trying to make. So I think it works against them. And I think that detail is right in front of them and they don't see it. So let me explain. Let's play.
And there's lots of reasons for that. And
Like
part of it is just to keep it super secret, because it's not, I can't take my phone and get it from you, like with a program or an app, right? It's in your body.
And it seems like something that even if somebody wanted to, it couldn't be used as a weapon. It's not something.
I just thought, like, you could be tortured for that information. You torture a man. Trust me, everyone gives up information. So, like, you're not hackable if it's like a phone. The information is in you. Well, how convenient this is. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be bitter or pessimistic this video. I found that alarming and disturbing, and I guess I just need more information on it. I still remain optimistic, but this detail concerns me. And it should concern you. Again, open to hear all the explanations. But this idea that just because it's in you, that now the information can't get out. Well, you could be tortured for it. Easily give it up. And again, how do we verify what each person is then telling the next person? You can't, man. Don't like this.
Somebody can weaponize.
Yeah, and that's kind of cool.
Because once you discover it, it's like a whole nother thing, like a whole another universe inside you that you can connect to.
Yeah.
But then why would you want to keep it secret? Why would good people want to keep it secret?
Okay, so I think that we have to understand that we're living in a world of kind of like war, right? Like there's a lot of war going on that is not actually the war we see in Ukraine, right? It's not that kind of war. It's more of an informational war, but it has real effects. It has effects on people's mental health. It has effects on what they believe, what they'll buy, what they won't buy. whether they're vaccinated or not vaccinated. This is actually in real time happening.
Yeah.
And so, so we have to understand that those interests, our security is a lot based on that, on this war that's going on. So
How so?
our security, well, it's really easily to infiltrate the boundaries of technology, like through different access points. When you open your computer, you're already a vulnerable target. Whereas if you didn't have,
I'm sorry, but human beings are a vulnerable target as well and can be easily accessed. What are we talking about? It is way better. It is way better to secure data in some sort of system, an air gap system. What do they call them? Right, some sort of. We have lots of secrets like that. Nuclear codes. Right, there's lots of systems that are, written down. What are we files? First of all, it's the American government. We have a right to have that documented. Right, so these people working on the programs, they should be documented for the American people, regardless. Like, that's illegal. I don't care about this. I don't care. That's not the point, right? So they've made it, if that's true, they've also made an error against the American people. They've decided for us what's best. A few select people decided for us. Think about that. Don't like that. I don't like that at all. Again, if this is true, this is just what Diana is saying.
That you wouldn't be as vulnerable, and war would be fought in the way in which,
okay.
yeah,
You're saying like a mind war.
Yeah, virtual warfare.
So what you're describing is like human beings. We are almost already cyborgs because we're always connected to our phones. We spend most of our time staring at iPhone screens or whatever, and it's easy to be that kind of stuff. That media is very easily manipulated by somebody who has an agenda.
Yeah. And by the way, this is nothing new.
Right.
I learned about this when I, freshman in university. So I thought I was going to be a doctor. So I was taking classes in nutrition. And I was at a great agricultural school, University of California at Davis. And all my nutrition classes, I thought I was going to learn about how to make people healthy and, things like that. But I didn't, actually. I learned about how we can make square tomatoes through genetic engineering that sell.
Oh, wow.
And they didn't have any nutritional content, and how Edward Bernays, shifted the 4 food groups and things like that. My mind was like, whoa, okay, so this is what it's about. And so, so this is just the world we live in, right?
Edward Bernays is a wild character.
Yeah.
I watched a documentary on him by Adam Curtis. Have you seen that one?
Yes.
Where I guess he's the guy who brought consumerism to the United States, right? Like he's the one who developed it and brought the subconscious mind into marketing.
Yes.
One of my favorite parts about that documentary is how he consulted with, I think it was either an agency or it was with the company itself. I think it was Betty Crocker. And there was a cake mix they were trying to sell more of. People weren't buying it. And they did a focus group where I guess they studied housewives.
Yeah.
And the housewives felt guilty making this cake because they didn't do enough work. So what they did, they added an egg.
Yeah.
Let's just put on the instructions, crack an egg.
Yeah.
And now they felt like they were doing the work. They didn't have that guilt anymore. And it started flying off the shelves.
Yeah. So Bernays is kind of, all over our culture, made huge inroads into everything. So everything you have to think about from that perspective, like what we eat, everything, the brand.
Yes, the brand. And then I was just talking about this on a podcast a couple of days ago. The food pyramid.
Yes,
is exactly. Upside down.
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of lobbying that went into the original food pyramid.
That's
from
right.
A bunch of food product or food brands.
Yeah, so I learned this, but they weren't teaching it to me like, hey, this is kind of terrible and people need to eat better. They were teaching it to me like, okay, this is the best way to do it.
Right here, listen.
And that's why, by the way, I started to take philosophy classes.
What do you mean by that? Okay, this is the best way to do it.
Yeah, so there was no self-consciousness about, do we really want to make a square tomato? So what if it sells better and, gets into a box and we're able to ship it anywhere in the world. Like, it's not really that good for you, right? Maybe, so there was no question about the health of the people that were going to eat the tomato. It was, is this the most efficient way to make money off of a tomato?
Right.
That's what I was learning about. And there was no self-consciousness at that time. I mean, I'm hoping that it's changed since I was a freshman.
Right. There's this.
So that's it. All right. That's the point. They found the way to make the most money off that tomato, regardless if it had any sort of value or taste or flavor, right? I mean, that's not a good point to make about the UFO data being hidden and the reason why they do it, right? That's a horrible reason to give, because that's saying that essentially they're doing it, right, for that reason, subconsciously. So I don't know, right, that the UFO, it's just the best way for them to make money off of this. So whatever they're doing behind the scenes, reverse engineering, I don't know, right? Again, how can you do all of this and all the data is passed verbally? You're running all these tests, you're doing all these things. You know what? All you got to do is ask Bob Lazar, did you write anything down? And clearly he did. He's even made drawings of the UFOs he's worked on and sold them. So, right? I mean, and you don't think some people are going to make little notes and stuff them away? I mean, again, and they have listening devices. If you're passing it, the information audibly like that, someone made a comment in a video the other day about Get Smart and the Cone of Silence. That was funny. I used to watch that show growing up. Yeah, that's the only way, right? Like some code of silence you're in. I mean, again, I just don't understand this. I don't understand this. Is the UFO technology the square tomato? You know, the idea of it? I hope not, man. But this disturbs me. Just saying, it disturbs me. I don't know what to make of it. Again, I'm open to hear explanations for how you could guarantee that all the information is getting passed along, and two, that it's accurate. It wasn't misremembered or a detail off, right? Because one little detail off is paramount. Man, it's like monumental. The ramifications of that could be, right, exorbitant. So there's just no way to guarantee that with this many people that have been involved. And again, how are they passing all this data around? And that must mean that not everyone has all the data. So the data's all split. What if they all died? What if they died? In a bus accident or on the way to this or that, or right, like accidents happen, a heart attack, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are we talking about? This sounds like the worst idea possible to retain what could be the biggest information of all time, the biggest data set of all time, and people are just remembering it. Most Americans can't remember to get milk on the way home when their wife texts them. I forget stuff every day. Like, even the smartest people forget stuff. That's why they write it down. That's why we make notes. We write it down. We catalog, right? So we have books and stuff. I mean, you know what I mean? Like this, I just don't like this. There's so many holes in this for me. But one more tweet we're going to look at real quick. This is from UFO Joe, which I thought this was interesting. This is about Tim Taylor, right? Her Tyler D guy, Diana Pasulka. Like, how are they going to do that in the show from the Game of Thrones producers, right? Is that guy going to be like, who's that guy? Anyway, this is what Joe tweeted out. Many of us, including me, have been critical of this guy, I don't know who that is, secretly recording anybody he comes into contact with. In my opinion, that criticism is 100% warranted. It's creepy. Okay. But what about Tyler from Diana Pasulka's American Cosmic? Why has he gotten a pass? And this is from the book, apparently. My first communication from Tyler that was not part of an email thread directed to several recipients was a text message. It was the longest text message I had ever received, full of information about how he came to study the phenomena. So he's allowed to put that in text form to people that he just met. You don't think he's given details like that to people? So right there, busted. He sent videos of where he worked in New Mexico, Florida, and other places. Okay. He also sent videos of his conversations with friends. Definitely getting weird. These were very odd. Agreed. His friends never looked at the camera, and they spoke as if they were unaware that they were being filmed. Doesn't sound like friends to me. I quickly surmised that, in fact, they did not know. Tyler was outfitted with various types of cameras hidden in his clothes, disguised and strategically placed on his body, and was recording everything. I knew that if and when I finally did meet him, he would be videotaping me too. That, among other things, was a deterrent. What the fuck? Pardon my language. But what the fuck? I mean, oh, my brain hurts on this video, y'all. Oh, my brain hurts. Okay, so many points here to make. Let's start with number one. How can you trust this guy, Diana? Right? How can Diana trust this guy moving forward? Anything. Why? I mean, and let's be real. If he's sending you videos like that, he knows you're going to put two and two together. So there's a reason that he wants you to know you're being filmed too, right? Like, this sounds so set up. Why is he filming everything? He's got strategically placed on his body. What does that mean? Like, you know what I mean? He's got a pit cam over here, just kind of, just weird little cameras everywhere. Like, everything's a camera on the guy. Like, strategically placed. Like, I mean, oosh, you don't want to see the one that he shoots from behind, where that one goes. Anyway. Fuck, man. I apologize for the language. This video, I'm just like, I don't get it. Again, there's so much wrong with this, right? He's going to film you and record you secretly, which kind of not secretly, he's letting you know. But then to send that off to friends, why would you even continue to deal with this guy and then take him seriously moving forward? I don't get that. Why hasn't this guy come forward? All this information is out there about this guy. He still works with the government. He still has all these contracts. I mean, this makes zero sense. All right, let's be real. This guy's got to do an interview, or nobody's going to take him seriously, or anything he says seriously. Right? And it's funny that, remember, the secret crash site that Tim Taylor took, Diana and Gary Nolan to, right? Famously, right? Made a video about that. Remember, that was supposedly used in an X-Files episode because they had an insider on the show. So they used a real UFO crash site in an X-Files episode. And now Game of Thrones. I mean, come on. This just... I don't know. I got to be honest. This is like shaking my foundation a little bit to hear this. Now, it just makes me curious. What does David Grush have? What evidence does he have? Right? Is it all oral? Is it all just testimony? Is it all just interviews? But no, you know what I mean? That's, again, this is not good. If that's how all the information is being passed down. Because how can you trust it all? You have nothing to back it up. That just sounds so... If that's true, if that's what they're doing, that is the worst possible solution. I just don't understand. And is that why there's really nothing out there? Because, What are they going to release? So we're asking for transparency for the government and for them to release the UFO files and all this stuff. There aren't any. That's what Diana's saying. There aren't any to release. So what are we asking for from the UAP Disclosure Act, right? What are we asking for here? What are we asking the National Archives to release? There isn't anything. I don't understand this. I need answers. So I'm hoping, I'm going to dig into this, y'all. See what I can find out. See if anyone else has mentioned something like this. Start asking around if I were y'all. Start asking around. Let's look for some clips. Please help me. I've never said that on this channel before. Ever. Ever. I've never asked that. Not one time. But I'm asking this time. If you've watched this far, that means you're a true vetter. So, I don't know. Help me. Let's look for some clips. Put them in the comments, and I'll make sure they all get in. I just, I don't know what to do here. Because I need more information on this. We need to know if this is what it is. Any interview I do moving forward, I'm asking this question. And I heard back from Daniel Sheehan's representatives, and I sent a message out, and they're passing along the message to Danny. So it'll be Danny's decision, Mr. Sheehan, if they're going to come on Vetted. So I'll let y'all know if that happens. Great. Would love to do that. And this is one of the questions I'm going to ask them for sure about this. Because, again, I'm open to explanations. Maybe I just haven't thought it through enough. And there could be very reasonable explanations for this. And someone could explain how the information could be guaranteed moving forward and it's accurate, and all of the information. Again, not that just the information is accurate, but that all of the information. We're not missing one little, word, one little detail. We're not missing anything from this. Again, greatest discovery of mankind, right? Deserves the best. Information protocols. Right? Data set protocols. It's almost like maintaining the secrecy of the UFO programs, researching it. It's almost like the protocols you set in place to maintain the information you get from those practices, right? Research and maintaining the secrecy, the information you get from that is the most important part. Aside from the craft itself, the information you get from it, the data we have from studying it, just the effects, whatever the data is, that data is the most important data in human, history. So the fact that just a group of dudes are just passing this down over campfire stories or however they're doing it, again, I need to hear a solid explanation for this. So, I don't know. Again, this lines up so interestingly enough with Sean Kirkpatrick's, reporting and statements or whatever he's making. Apparently he's got some historical document thing coming out. I don't know. And that's what he's going to mention in there, this telephone game. And that's kind of what Diana's saying. Again, I'm not saying that. I'm still leaving open the possibility that there's a reasonable explanation for that. All right, I could be convinced of that. I just can't think of one on my own. And again, guaranteeing all the information and that all of it's accurate. So anyway, I'm going to leave y'all with that. Again, links in the description. Check it out for yourself. We'll see you guys on tomorrow's video. 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Do not miss it. And yeah, let's stay on this. Let's find out more. So anyway, all right, y'all. Remember, every day is a gift. Peace.